Let me ask you a question, and be honest. How often do you back up your computer? Well, I hope it's a lot more often than I back up my computer. Had a little incident the night after Christmas where we lost power in the middle of the night, and the power was off long enough that the battery backup ended up running out of power itself, and things ended up shutting down. By the time we woke up, everything came back on, except when everything started again, one of the hard drives in my server failed and it was unable to boot up correctly. And we were unable to access anything on it. And that was a real panic for us right now. So the way the server is set up is that it has a single SSD for the operating system. And it has a total of 4 hard drives to make up 2 RAID disk pairs. So we have one for personal photos, videos, music, documents, that sort of thing. And then we have another one which I use for actual paid work. Now the personal one was saved more recently, and that wasn't as much of a problem. But the thought of losing all of my work from the last few years was a real panic. So you can probably imagine the exhilaration of sheer terror if something like this were to happen. But I was able to tinker around with it long enough, and what I ended up doing was just completely disconnecting the failed drive and a couple of reboot tries, and it finally booted up correctly and everything was still there. So I very calmly walked into the next room and I told my wife, I need to go to Staples right now and get something to back everything up before this happens again. So she went with me, and it was actually great. She went to Barnes & Noble, and I went to Staples, which is right around the corner, and I picked up one of these. Eight gigabyte external hard drive on a temporary basis. 8 gigabytes is way too big, but I'm sure that going into the future, this much space is going to be handy. So I was able to get this, come home, and by the grace of God, I was able to back everything up. So I'm about to rebuild the server now instead of using hard drives and instead of using RAID disk arrays. What I'm going to do is use SSDs for everything because they've come down enough in price. And the jury may still be out on which is really more reliable, but just the power savings and the response time to access data instead of waiting for a hard drive to spin up and access it, I think that right there is worth it. And my guess is as SSD drives become more and more mainstream, we're going to find out that they actually are more reliable. That's what the early indication shows anyway. Let me show you what's been going on, which has been causing all the problems. So let's log in. So this is my server. Now I have 2 different RAID disks on this. One of them is called Enterprise, and these are the things that are supposed to be on here. It's working right. I don't know why that's misspelled. That's strange. Anyway, and then the other one, oops, that's not good. The other one has these things, which are supposed to be there. So it's just cutting out the first letter. So the problem was when it would boot and it wouldn't work right, Enterprise would have these shares, and then RAID 1 would have these shares. And so my main computer, or any computer in the house for that matter, wouldn't be able to find the right one. And for a long time, I wasn't able to access my stuff. And yeah, that was a problem. So let me show you what we're dealing with. This absolutely ginormous case is something that I picked up from the electronics dumpster at the dump, thinking there's more room inside this than I'm ever going to need for drives or storage or whatever. So this looked like a good investment. So it consists of, like I said, a single SSD in here, and then 2 hard drives, and 2 more hard drives. And the one that failed is down here. I don't know if you can see, but that's disconnected. So basically these 2 and those 2 will be replaced by this. Why do I need a case this big? I mean, seriously, you can land a plane in this thing. But like I said, the power consumption is going to be improved, and maybe I'll downsize to a smaller case. Maybe donate this to the Smithsonian or something. One other thing is, one of these fans started making noise. I'm probably going to not need that anymore in favor of this, since this thing is going to generate next to 0 heat. But anybody want to buy a collector's item server case? So one of the reasons I went with the RAID approach is because I foolishly thought that as long as one side exists and it's mirrored right away on the other disk, I would never have to do another backup because it would all be taken care of, right? Isn't that the whole point? Yeah, I'll bet some of you are laughing right now because that's really not how it works. When I tried to take out the disk and access it, I knew it wasn't going to work on a Windows machine because it's an ext format hard drive and Windows won't even read that. But then I tried it on a Linux computer and even that didn't read it. So the data on the disk could only be accessed through the operating system. So I found out the hard way that the backup didn't work the way I originally thought it worked or intended for it to work. An analogy somebody gave me once was, it's similar to the reason that a tractor trailer has pairs of wheels, instead of single wheels. If one of them goes flat, you're not completely out of luck. That doesn't mean you don't need a spare, but it's going to potentially make it easier in the long run. So what I'm going to do from now on is go with these SSDs and more diligently, I hope, find a more suitable and regular system of backing things up on a more regular basis. Like I'm going to try different software to do that because the software that came with the hard drive only works on, will only back up on that computer. It's not intended for network use, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to try to figure out a solution on how to do that. So I'm going to put the new server together, and if you are watching this, that means it all went well and I don't have to add anything to this. So let's hope that it all works out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.